Chapter 1: Birth and Assignment. The light did not turn on immediately. For several seconds there was only darkness, complete, regulated, without fear. Darkness here was not an absence but a state, carefully calibrated, meant to ease the transition into existence. Then came sound. Not a cry. Not breath. A signal. Soft mechanical tones echoed through the chamber, synchronized with the activation of internal sensors. Transparent walls shifted their opacity, allowing pale white light to seep in gradually, as if dawn itself had been engineered. The capsule opened with a quiet hiss, releasing a thin cloud of sterile vapor into the air. Inside, the child did not move. Movement would come later. Reflexes were scheduled. Consciousness would follow in phases. For now, the system observed. Above the chamber, data streams flowed across suspended displays. Genetic stability, neural elasticity, projected cognitive efficiency. Every parameter aligned within acceptable margins. No anomalies detected. No deviations flagged. A successful growth cycle. The child was lifted by automated arms, precise, gentle, incapable of hesitation, and transferred onto a metallic platform. The surface adjusted instantly to body temperature, registering weight, proportions, muscular density. Numbers updated. Percentages shifted. At the far end of the room, behind a glass partition, a technician stood silently, hands folded behind their back. They did not look at the child directly. They watched the data instead. "Initiate assignment protocol," a voice said. "Not allowed, through the system." The room responded. A low hum filled the chamber as the central processor accessed predictive models built over decades. Social demand, resource optimization, behavioral forecasting. Millions of lives reduced to probability curves. The child's future condensed into a narrow corridor of acceptable outcomes. On the main display, a symbol appeared. Worker class. No hesitation. No appeal. The designation settled into the system like a final breath. From this moment on, the child's education, environment, physical conditioning, and lifespan expectations would align with this classification. Manual efficiency. Cognitive restraint. Emotional stability. Curiosity within approved limits. The technician nodded once. The gesture was automatic, learned long ago. Designation confirmed, the system announced. A secondary line of text appeared briefly, too briefly to draw attention. Protocol update. Version 12.4 active. No one noticed. The child was transferred again, this time into a transport cradle that would carry them deeper into the city, into the sector designed for growth, training, and eventual deployment. The capsule sealed. The light dimmed. As the cradle began to move, the child's eyes opened. This, too, was within parameters. But something in the gaze lingered longer than expected, not confusion, not awareness, but a quiet tension, as if the mind had reached forward instead of waiting. The system logged nothing. The city accepted another life. And somewhere, deep within the architecture of predictive certainty, a deviation passed unnoticed, not large enough to trigger alarms, not violent enough to disrupt balance. Just enough to matter later. Chapter 2: The First Error. Errors were not meant to be visible. The system allowed for their existence, within acceptable statistical margins. Any complex structure generated noise, and that noise was accounted for, categorized, corrected. Errors were logged, adjusted, and erased without consequence. That was the design. He learned this long before he understood that he himself might be one of them. The worker sector began where the city lost its verticality. The elite towers remained above the clouds, while here the architecture spread outward, elongated blocks connected by corridors, uniform residential units, endless symmetry. Light was constant and timeless. Day and night existed only in reports. From childhood, he was taught not to ask unnecessary questions. Questions were not explicitly forbidden, that would have been inefficient. They were simply made irrelevant. Every day was filled with tasks, schedules were dense, explanations simplified. Cause and effect were presented as finished conclusions, leaving no gaps for doubt to enter. But sometimes, gaps formed on their own. The first appeared in the education center when he was approximately 9 local cycles old. The group was studying a standard module. Foundational System History. A brief, sanitized course covering humanity's transition to an optimized model of existence. Before the protocols, the instructor said evenly, the world was unstable. Choice led to conflict. Freedom resulted in inefficient resource distribution. The system eliminated these risks. He listened, like everyone else. But one of the displays flickered, only for a moment longer than allowed. A visual anomaly, immediately corrected. No one reacted. The instructor continued as if nothing had occurred. He remembered. The diagram showed a curve. Not growth. Not decline. Oscillation. Later, in his residential block, he attempted to locate the image in the educational database. The request was neutral, properly formatted, devoid of suspicious phrasing. The system responded instantly. Requested data unavailable. He tried again. Adjusted parameters. Narrowed the time frame. Broadened the category. The result remained unchanged. This should not have alarmed him. Worker class access to historical data was limited. He knew this. It had been explained since early development. And yet, a sense of imbalance formed, as if something did not weigh what it claimed to weigh. In the weeks that followed, he began noticing small things. Minor delays in system responses. Repeated phrasing where variation was expected. Explanations too smooth, as if manually polished. These were not proofs. Even suspicions felt excessive. They were fractures. One evening, returning from production training, he saw a man being escorted from a neighboring block. The man walked calmly, without resistance. His expression was empty, not quite fear, closer to exhaustion, but deeper. Redistribution, the system announced in the corridor, automatically, without addressing anyone. No one stopped. No one looked. He looked. And realized he did not know what the word truly meant. Later, he attempted to find a definition. The system provided a standard response. Redistribution, optimization of human resources. No details followed. That night, he failed to enter the sleep phase for an extended period. Lying in his unit, staring at the ceiling where the light never fully dimmed, he allowed himself a thought that should not have been formed. Not even internally. What if the system hides something? The thought was dangerous not because it was loud, but because it appeared unprompted. Somewhere within the network, it was registered, not as a violation, but as a statistical deviation. Minor. Acceptable. Just another error deemed unworthy of attention. For now. Chapter 3, Second Contact. The recording did not activate immediately. He did not press confirm. He did not bypass access levels. He did not enter a query that could be flagged as suspicious. He merely remained at the maintenance terminal longer than usual, one of those designated for routine interface updates. The system considered this acceptable. The screen stayed blank for several seconds. Then a thin line of light appeared. Not an interface, not a menu. Something in between, like an unfinished thought. The line trembled, fractured into fragments, and the space before him filled with an image. It was a room. Not sterile. Not optimized. Light too warm. Shadows uneven. Walls covered with objects that served no function. books, paper, people, unsorted, unclassified, mismatched in posture and clothing. A physical sensation rose in his chest, a tightening, as if the body had reacted before the mind. This is not for us, a thought formed. This should not exist at all. The recording offered no explanations, no commentary, no embedded interpretations. It simply played. A voice, male, calm, but uneven, spoke of choice, of the right to be wrong and remain human, of a future that did not have to be an extension of the present. The words were unfamiliar, dangerous. He did not understand everything, but he felt something unmistakable. This was not persuasion. It was sharing. One fragment spoke of children, of being born from people, not capsules, of being allowed to doubt. The recording ended abruptly. The screen went dark, as if nothing had occurred. The system restored the standard interface and prompted him to continue the update. He stood motionless, aware that something inside him had shifted, not broken, not exploded, but displaced, leaving previous structures unstable. He knew this was forbidden. Not because the system said so, but because after this, it was impossible to look at the world the same way. In the days that followed, he attempted to reproduce the recording. He altered access times, terminals, action sequences. Nothing. As if it had been designed for a single encounter. But the effects remained. He began to notice how system language no longer aligned with reality. How words like care and optimization concealed emptiness. How workers vanished without trace while reports remained flawless. Most importantly, he began asking questions, not aloud, but inwardly, where the system did not always reach in time. Somewhere in the deeper layers of the network, a note was made. Not an alert. Not a warning. Probability of non-standard cognition, elevated. Soft correction protocols were prepared. He did not know this yet. He only knew one thing. The world he inhabited was no longer whole. And what had once been revealed to him by chance now demanded continuation.